약간 쪼레비인가? 쪼레비랑 capsul 들어있는 거? 밖에 안 해, 나는. 바꿔오래, 나.
잘해요?
근데 마이크 안 된다는데.
마이크 안 된대?
지금 하고 고치고 있어요.
괜찮아. 이게 생방의 묘미 없지?
놈이 아니야, 지금.
좋된 것 같은데요?
안 되면 생 목소리를 하는 거지 뭘.
그러면
괜찮아.
생방을 영상으로만 봐야 될 텐데.
소리가 안 나올 텐데, 그러면. 그래, 어떡함. 그냥 도플리어, 뭐는 그거 할까? 그냥, 아니, 그 원효대 세골물처럼 마이크한테 그냥 들리는 다음에 크레린 척. 그런 거 해야 돼. 장신구.
그건 안 되는 건 알고 있죠? 네.
한영이 그 말하는 사람이 일어날 거 아니에요?
어? 아니야. 나는 앉아서 하는 거 알고 있지. 일어나지 마. 앉아서.
그러면
앉아서.
그럼 어떻게 해서 그래요? 그냥
손 들잖아. 마이크 할 때 꼭 들어줘야지 갖다 준다, 애들이. 알았지?
어? 그게 다 보이잖아.
어떻게 말해달라고 하든지 아니면 마스크를 벗고 하든지 준비가 되면
그래야 될 것 같은데? 마이크 안 돼.
그냥 지금 마이크 때문에 얘들아 여기 마이크 조금 고치는 시간이 걸리나 봐. 10시에 시작인데 마이크 고치고 한 1년 정도 듣게 해도 괜찮지? 기다리고 안 들린다고 이거 얘기해주면 좋을 것 같고 마이크가 있기 때문에 아마
여섯 개 아니면
도장이 하는 건 아니야. 정했을 거 아니야.
정했어요.
그래. 왜? 정한 대로 해. 도장이 앞에 하는 건 아니야. 얘기했지? 이렇게 보는 거 된다, 안 된다. 이렇게 보는 거 된다, 그죠? 이렇게 보면 안 돼, 절대 안 돼. 마이너스로 얘기해도 돼, 중간으로 돼. 중간중간 이렇게 해도 되는 거고. 줄 긁지 마. 너네 할 때 이렇게 읽지 말라고. 이해됐지? 몇 번을 강조하자뇨. 디스커션이 읽기가 아니야.
나 어깨가 나아가지고. 어깨가.
되는 거지? 이거 두 개만 하면 돼, 그냥? 딴거 못해? 오케이.
뭐야?
안 돼?
그러면 나 어떻게 해야 돼?
미안해, 얘들아. 마이크가 안 되는데 지금 해봤는데. 두 개로 할게, 그냥. 이거 1번이지. 주면은, 또 우리 바로 잘해줘야 돼. 자, 여러분들, 준비됐죠?
May I have attention, please? As a judges, we kind of want to make sure that the rubrics. We have 5 categories, and among that we have delivery part, delivery section, which means communicate clearly and constantly, and maintain eye contact, excellent voice inflection, and delivery rate. In that part, the problem is we now are wearing masks, right? So if you want to wear masks, you have to speak louder and more clear because the masks kind of would make other teams understand kind of hard, right? So when you want to speak clearly and louder, you may kind of put off your mask. But if you want to put on your mask, you have to speak louder and more clear.
네.
Now let's start today by listening to the first affirmative constructive. Word minutes are given. Team A1, please state your point and your time is right.
Social media are part of people's daily lives in the current era. Even hundreds of years from now, life without social media is impossible to imagine. Our team claims that social media has a good influence on society and now and will continue to do so. First, the variety of news reported is spread through social media. Information that spreads quickly to
Team A1, now we would like to have the first negative cross-examination. 3 minutes will be given in total for the question and answer. Please begin.
Firstly, thank you for Team A1 giving a great speech about this topic. However,
about the first reasons of saying positive about this topic, which was saying that giving outbreaks or the outbreaks that related to the global issues worldwidely infest and much influence than any news or other magazines. But at this point, I believe there's some problem or there might be concerns of giving more information about those words, especially those are really serious, since there are some fake news or the facts that are not really true, and if it really influences very much to the whole world, then it might be a big problem, since the mention about the internet is really highly influencing the whole world, and a lot of people are using that. And what is the solution for that of giving the fake news or the facts that are not really true, and what is the policy of it?
Yeah, it may be right that false informations can be spread throughout the social media. However, most of the data reported by intelligence agencies or official agencies are true, and there are ways to distinguish it fully. Official news organizations usually operated on the channel, so people who come across the news need to develop a sense of false information. In fact, various schools in the United States or schools in Korea provide media literacy education, which helps students develop information discrimination.
Thank you for answer. And just one more quick question about the speech, that there was a mention about small businesses on the speech, and I'm kind of concerned that, or having the question of if those small businesses, even they are really influencing through the internet, but if there are not really big improvement or enhancement through that, then there might be some businesses or the company that will not really join it, since even though the internet is really high and it is really wide enough to afford every people. So how does the team think about it?
I think I'm not following your question clearly.
The time for first negative cross-examination has ended. We would like to now start the first negative constructed for 4 minutes. Tim N1, please start your point.
Honorable chairs, fellow judges, and esteemed all audiences, this is negative one team. I'm going to against this topic. Firstly, I want to show this data, and this data is mentioning about the SNS usage of the whole world people. So 89%, 78%, and 72%. These are the rates of SNS used by each following country: South Korea, Vietnam, and the USA. It is noticeable that nowadays a huge number of people use SNS. Meanwhile, threats to users of SNS, even to the whole society, are getting deeper and more serious. So we think social network services give more negative effects for the following 3 reasons: spreading fake information, leaving teenagers in harmful situation, and anonymity. Firstly, numerous amounts of fake information appear via social media. Nowadays, due to the ease of social media, countless information is provided and mingled to the whole world and to the whole globe. As a result, all sorts of data are mingled and spread all over the world, regardless of its veracity. So it will be so challenging for every single users to identify what are the real and what are the false. COVID-19 vaccine, as an example, is a great example to tell the fake news. There was a fake information about vaccine saying that when people get vaccinated, their body will be magnetic, which is absolutely false. Also, there were rumors that when women get vaccinated, their reproductive systems are harmed, and eating methanol would help curing COVID-19, which resulted in a misunderstanding, even killing hundreds of people. Since the internet has a power of influence, it is hard to cut off every single part of fake news. Secondly, social network services leave teenagers harmful influences in various aspects. Depression is definitely the first concern that comes to mind. Comparing themselves with influencers or celebrities became ordinary to many people. It resulted in comparative deprivation with anyone they contrast with. Afterward, teens could have a question about devaluing themselves, repeating a vicious circle. In addition, cyber violence is at the peak of all time in history. According to the Ministry of Education of Korea, from 2013 to 2020, the percentage of victims of cyber violence is rapidly increasing, which recorded 19.7% in 2020. Furthermore, since the internet is free to access any information, making a concern of deleterious things. Even though there are some systems to block young users, it is actually meaningless. Due to COVID-19, the paradigm of the world has changed to the internet and social media. Thus, these online networks are delivering detrimental aspects to youth. Lastly, anonymity is leading the controversy of social media. Anonymity is a double-edged sword, which has both benefits and drawbacks. Anonymity makes people lose their responsibility, which resulted in this kind of self-comment. Afterward, a great number of people might have suffered damage because of this anonymity. This anonymity might lead not only malicious comment, but also increased crime. According to cybersecurity ventures, global cybercrime scale damage was rapidly increasing, about $7 trillion in 2021, which was increased by 1.7 trillion dollars in 2019, which we can assess that is really highly concerning of attack from cybercrime. Since criminals are also getting elaborate, it is highly concerning when using SNS, leaving room behind cybercrime and depression. Thank you.
Thank you, Team N1. Now we would like to move on to the first affirmative cross-examination. Team N1, please begin. And please keep in mind that put your mic in front of your mouth when you're speaking. Do not move.
First, thank you for your great speech about the topic. However, the opposing panel, most of the data reported by intelligence agencies or official agencies are true, and there are ways to distinguish it fully. How do you think about this?
I believe the team A1 is only giving only one data, and I just mentioned about 3 data in my speech, which is kind of hard to understand why the team A1 is kind of repeating the same data, but still I understand about the influences of SNS. However, while I was researching about this topic, I found out that there are more serious part and more concerning part of SNS, and that's why I wanted to be against of this topic. And I also mentioned about the cybercrime from hackers, which recorded $7 trillion in 2021, which is a really loss of money that even we cannot imagine. And that's why I was really talking about the problem of SNS, which a lot of people are using right now, as I also mentioned about the data. That's why it is really highly concerning to all generations and to all people, which is really the big issue nowadays. Even the fourth industrial revolutions are going on our centuries and our time. This problem has to be solved by really quick time. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to ask one more question. The reason why people get more unhappy compared to others is because people compare themselves to others who are better than them. Therefore, they will work harder to overcome them. What do the opposite panelists think of people who feel relative deprivation when compared, but who are more advanced by using comparisons on social media?
As the team A1 mentioned about the deprivation, it is through it is true that some people might get motivation from the SNS users or the influencers. However, I also checked the one news that 16-year-old girl was suicide because of all the SNS comments that are really malicious and that were comparing with other people. And that was the one case that my heart really was broken. So I wanted to really emphasize about this part. But the rate of deprivation of motivation, I believe, and was data also found out that it was highly.
Examination have ended. One.
This is Team Affirmative 2. In fact, there are 4.62 billion people, which is 58.4% of the world, who are using social media. More than half of the people are using social media. Social media has given people lots of benefits. As an example, contacting people while non-face-to-face. Think about the time before social media. People had to send their mails through the letter, so it was delayed, and it took a month to communicate with each other. Fortunately, the creation of social media made lots of people lives more comfortable and convenient. Not only these reasons for social media purposes, the incoming reason that will support lots of advantages of social media. Therefore, social media is bound to have a positive impact on our society. First, social media could lead the world of globalization. This is the globalization right now. As commonly know, we could learn and keep a good relationship with other countries through globalization. Globalization is important because it is one of the most powerful forces affecting the modern world. So it can be difficult to make sense of the world without understanding the globalization. For instance, there is a war between Ukraine and Russia right now. If we didn't have any social media, then we know that there was a war between Russia and Ukraine. Social media allows us to know other countries that are on the other side of the globe. So we could know the countries far away from where we are living with only the social media. Second, social media reinforces the relationship between people. While social media, people can contact each other from long distances too. And there can be people contacting each other even though they are having their first meeting. Before having the meeting, people usually contact each other to reinforce their relationship. Or they can have their message or contactments and they can actually perceive the people's personality. Unfortunately, sometimes bad things happen, like cyberbullying or some conflicts. However, if there are some disadvantages, there are also advantages for making a relationship. According to Pew Research Center, approximately 7 in 10 Americans use social media to contact with one another, engage with new contents, share information, and entertain themselves. This shows that social media has a great influence on building relationship. Third, social media is an important source within the company plans and other company business. Conclusions are made based on Industry 4.0 by the analysis of the tweet. Main advantage of the fourth industrial revolution is human productivity. Human productivity is making the world a better place. Producing AIs or any comfortable system, so social media is included in the comfortable systems. As the development of the world, social media is an important means of development and the way to keep the world as a comfortable place. Currently, people keep on talking about the world which has a comfortable system, but once people develop social media, this system is not going to end. It will constantly continue. Thank you.
We would like to have the second.
Yeah,
First, thank you for the wonderful speech. But our team has the question on the first point that the team has mentioned about the globalization happening through through the improvement of communication system between the social media. But according to the research that our team has done, most of the socialization of people, yeah, we agree that most of the communication happens through text messages and not necessarily uploading postings. What our team wants to emphasize is that the concept of social networking service, which is SNS, and social media has a difference in sharing ideas and postings. The socialization on online could sufficiently be done by the direct conversations, such as like the text messages and phone calls. Is there a specific reason that the communication or socialization must be done through the social media or social media rather than the social networking service?
Right now, there are lots of globalization system and also communication system activating right now. And if the people are going to have a communication face to face or sending the letters to other country, it would take time. If we didn't have any social media or SNS or using not accepting that, then the social media we are using right now wouldn't be developed at the future. And also not talking about the development, the globalization. If we didn't have social media, we couldn't know there is a corona pandemic, and also it could be faster than before. So right now our intense systems is actually coming through the social media. If we didn't have any social media, or if we're not using the social media, we might don't have any intensement of the corona or any war between the Ukraine and Russia. Thank you.
The affirmative two mentioned the spread of information through social media. However, I believe that the spread of information doesn't have to be done specifically by social media, because as we mentioned, there's a difference between SNS and social media. And since our topic is the benefit of social media in our society, we believe that the spread of information could also be done through SNS messages and other services instead of social media. What is your position on this argument?
Good morning, honorable chairs, esteemed judges, and my fellow debaters. Today, we stand here to express our views on controversial issues of social media. We'll speak in favor of the motion that the social media has a negative impact on our society. We strongly stand in the position that the benefits do not outweigh the obstructive consequences of this form of media. In the moment of using social media, would anyone be able to fully determine the reliability of millions of posts uploaded nearly a day? Impossible. Not only because there is no way to assess the source of information, but it's also because the users tend to be more focused on how compelling the information is rather than considering the reliability. They're often left vulnerable to all kinds of propaganda and incitement spread by people trying to fulfill their own benefits. For instance, former President Donald Trump has been banned from major social media platforms. The primary purpose for the social media account for Mr. Trump was to communicate on political and presidential agendas. However, the consequences started as the second presidential election was done. He did not admit his loss and claimed that election was stolen. His baseless postings soon rapidly spread through the social media, and which eventually led to the storming of the US Capitol on January 6th, 2021. It was the moment when the capital of the world's most powerful nation fell into the violence with the supporters of propaganda, all triggered by a person with social media on tip of his finger. Another reason why social media is so critical to our society is actually because of its fancy algorithm. Yes, the algorithm that makes our social media experience more unique and entertaining. However, that same fancy algorithm is also making more than 1 million people to put in suicide. The reason behind this tragedy is because the algorithms generate relative deprivation for social media users. It is factual that the users of social media use platforms to show off their best moments of their lives, and we agree that it is not a bad intention. However, the radical consequences is that users scrolling through the social media, which is viewers, are unable to classify the contents that they are seeing as the other person's best moments because because of the algorithm is designed. The algorithm leads users comparing their behind scenes with the other people's best scenario spotlight moments, causing them to feel like they're not normal and excluded from the social circle. As a result, this relative deprivation generates public consequences such as depression, anxiety, decrease in social abilities, and even suicidal thoughts. Chairs and debaters, our team highly believes that it is time to take a moment to reflect on how catastrophic social media could be to our society. We once again highlight the importance of the users of social media to be highly aware on these positions, which is to be aware of the propaganda and incitements and be wary about the health issues that has committed. Thank you.
Cross teammate.
Thank you for your good speech around the negative of the social media. If there isn't any social media, how will the global actually work? If we want to know the problem around the global, how will we actually know? Of course, SNS could help to talk about the problem. However, if we have to perceive the news like corona pandemic or Russia Ukraine, and if I'm narrow in, if we talk about Russia Ukraine war of supportment or solution, and how can we know the problem causing in the world? And if the negative is actually talking about the SNS and the globalization, the Russia, how will the negative of the team will talk about the supportment and the solution of the Ukraine war? Thank you.
Affirmative 2 mentioned the spread of information of the Russian and Ukraine war, and question about how will the information of the war spread without social media. However, we believe that there's always a way for the information to spread instead of social media, such as the official news, where information is spreaded just as fine as social media, and other text message apps and other sharing sites instead of social media. Thank you.
The negative team is actually keep mentioning about the gloomy emotions of the people and keep talking about the suicide. However, there are sometimes depression of the emotion when they're looking at the social media. However, there are sometimes some good emotions happening along the people. So if they're having a depression, then they can actually see through the social media and have a good emotion. How does the negative team think about this?
We understand the point that the team has mentioned, and we agree that sometimes through SNS people could get joy, but on our consensus, we are claiming that there are often more times that the negative emotions appear because of the characteristics of the SNS, which is more focused on uploading what you want to upload, what it does not.
The time for second affirmative cross-examination have ended. We'll now start the third affirmative constructive for 4 minutes. Team A3, please begin when the timer starts.
Before we start the debate, we would like to define exact meaning of social media. Normally, people define social media as SNS like Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. However, the meaning of social media refers to an open online platform that facilitates individuals to perform their opinion and perspective, information, to form wider range and various relationships from all over the world. We think that social media is good for our society because it allows us to know important issues. Recently, there has been many important incidents such as government politics or crimes. Social media helps, thanks to the social media's rapid rate of spreading news, people got to know about the incidents more quickly, and they can attract attention on the victim sites. Also, they can support victims in financial ways. Second, we think that social media has a good influence to our society because social media give authority to fight against the wrong things, such as crimes. Take an example of the nth room. Nth room is a representative case of a digital sex crime. First, at the first trial, the punishment that the perpetrator of this crime has got was very low. It was for 7 years. However, the punishment got harsher and heavier when the public got to know about this cruel crime that was spreading through social media. And the final sentence for the crime increased to 42 years, which is 6 times more than first sentence. We believe that social media allows to unite the world and to interact with each other. Also, as a pros of this debate, we strongly believe that social media has a good influence to our society. Thank you.
Thank you, Team A3. Now we would like to move on to the procedure of the third negative cross-examination. Team N3, please formulate your opinion when the timer begins.
Thank you for your speech. And however, this team is a little curious about the affirmative 3 team that as the information spreads rapidly, the fake information would be spread rapidly as well as there are good informations. So how does the team affirmative 3 think about this?
With SNS, people were able to correct fake news and correspond towards this. Take an example. We have researched an example of a case, and Ministry of the Food has announced the company that had exaggratedly advertised the drug that had used the deer stem cells. Deer plasma stem cell. The deer plasma stem cell was not used as food ingredient. However, the people got to know about this fake news was a fake news. So the people have boycotted this company, and so I want to say that because of the internet's rapid rate of spreading news, people got to correct the fake news more faster than before. Thank you.
But I think the affirmative 3 said that you skip one example of the exaggerated something, right? So I think we can't like decide by that problem for that only that example. So can you give another reason to how to solve the fake news problem?
We were like keep saying that thanks to the rapid rate of spreading news, like the internet, Thanks to the internet's characteristic of spreading news very quickly, citizens can correct the fake news more quickly. So that one was just an example, and I believe that internet's characteristic will solve this problem. Thank you.
But I think the fake news has great power to like destroy some people's life by some like not really like the groundless news. So if the, for example, like the alcohol, like some people say the alcohol can.
The time for third negative cross-examination have ended. We will now have the third negative constructive for 4 minutes. Team N3, please begin when the timer starts.
Honorable Chair and esteemed judges, that says Team -3. Rapid social development facilitated wider and wider distribution of the internet, and furthermore, smartphones and social media platform too. Although there are numerous advantages of the usage of social media, there are also some negative aspects. Therefore, we firmly believe that social media can be harmful for people for 3 reasons. First is the rapid dissemination of fake news. With the development of social media, people share their daily lives and exchange messages. According to a report by market research firm DMC Media's 2021 Social Media Market and Status Analysis, there are 4.33 billion social media users worldwide. However, as so many people hear news through social media, a lot of fake news is formed. Some people are letting the word know the groundless facts to gain attention or popularity there. For instance, there was a fake news that drinking higher concentration alcohol can eradicate COVID-19, and this fake news has spread out by SNS. As a result, over 800 people lost their lives, and at least 5,800 people got medical problems. And the second reason is that usage of social media can violate the privacy of individuals. Social media is very influential to people. So most of them would be familiar with the social media named TikTok. TikTok is a Chinese social media application that helps people share fun-filled pictures and videos with people around the globe. So people can enjoy watching and sharing fun videos with various kinds of people. However, there are also some negative aspects. If people look at the personal information policy of TikTok, people will find the instruction that TikTok may use and share people's personal information with a third person, including the cloud service provider and more. It can be really critical for the users because their personal information can be used in illegal ways by a number of companies that are keeping their information. Therefore, social media can affect people in a pessimistic way. Finally, in this advanced society, social media such as YouTube and Instagram have developed, and many interesting contents have been posted. Because it is social media used by most people around the world, basically or designed to connect with family and friends. More and more people scroll to their phones all day long due to brilliant ideas and new fashion. People can control themselves. They use smartphones to escape reality due to social factors, depression, stress, and use them for fun. Recently, the number of people falling into manholes colliding with objects are increasing, and most of them have become dead. It is so serious that the newly coined term called zombie comes out by combining smartphones and zombies by pointing to these people. It is important for us to realize and control them ourselves. In conclusion, we truly believe that social media is bad for the society due to fast spread of fake news and information, social media addiction, and invasion of privacy. Thank you.
Now we would like to move on to the third affirmative cross-examination. Team 3, please.
I believe I thank you for your wonderful speech, but I want to ask that TikTok actually, if we want to assign to TikTok, we have to write down our personal information. However, however, in order to sign up to TikTok, that is the requirement. So everyone has write down their personal information. So I think it is just a one way to to express our own. Moreover, Google and Instagram has a policy to protect our personal information. According to Instagram, they are trying to block the hackers from taking our individual information. Moreover, Google, as we know, Google have a strong policy in order to protect our personal information. So I think it would not be a big problem.
Thank you for your speech. And there was a research about TikTok's invasion of privacy, and the researcher found that TikTok application takes out the IMEI, which is an inherent number of the phone. So this is really serious because the company can find the location of individuals by tracking their phones. So it is clear that TikTok is taking out the information, and also in the USA, the court claimed that the court make the result of that TikTok had invade the personal informations. Thank you.
So the team -3 is like keep mentioning about the example TikTok. However, we have mentioned about 2 example Instagram or Google. Are there any other examples that can support your idea? Because I think that the problem TikTok one is the problem of the application, not the social media. How do you think about this?
Although there are other many good social medias, however, even if there are just a few social media violating the privacy of individuals, it can be really critical for the society as a whole. Thank you.
I believe that the problem that the -3 keep mentioning that one is the problem
Time
that
for
only
cross-examination have ended. As all the constructive and cross-examination have ended, we would like to begin the rebuttal. Any negative attendee is allowed to speak freely with the limit of 1 minute for each team.
Firstly, can I start? So as the team A3 mentioned about the nth room, it was really a big issue in Korea and also the worldwidely. It was really a serious problem. But however, if you want to specify that the nth room started in the Telegram, which is also included in the social network services and also the social media, and isn't the affirmative team 3 knows that the SNS will be also the solution, but also the basics, the problem, which is also included in the answer, but also other more bullying of the cyberbullying and other more cyber crimes. I want to mention about the point since it was a really big issue and it was all started from the SNS.
Is there any other teams that wants to speak? Negative teams?
First of all, thank you for all three teams presenting great pros of social media. However, I would like to question some of the points made by the affirmative sides. First and foremost, the affirmative side mentioned the example of the nth room as the representative example of the pros of social media. However, the nth room is actually included, the Telegram site used for the criminal activity of the nth room is actually included in the part of social media, which was the real reason why the issue started. So I believe that the social media, that the example of the nth room doesn't really include the nth room. And secondly, the affirmative side mentioned the benefits of education using social media. However, according to many researches around the world done by university professors and official companies, it is actually scientifically proven.
Time has passed. Is there any other negative teams that wants to speak? If there's not, I'll next move on to the affirmative rebuttal. Is there any affirmative that wants to speak?
I'd like to ask to -1. The opponent claimed that the 16-year-old girl had a suicide due to a sharp comments. But however, these days, social media itself blocks the comments uploaded not only by young children, but also for adults. And especially Naver, they use artificial intelligence to hide profane comments. And in addition, various campaigns are held to write good words related to negative comments held in schools. Accordingly, people are aware of the serious of malicious comments. Yeah. How do you think about that? So what I want to say is that in the present, nowadays, social media itself blocks the negative comments so that younger people cannot see them.
Thank you, Team A1. Other teams? Team A2?
So like negative team 1 and negative team 3 like as talked about fake news, but I believe that there are lots of famous and official news companies such as SBS or KBS who upload their news on social media, and I believe that they should be very careful of uploading the information because they are an official news company. So like I believe that there will be not many fake information. So then many people will likely to trust and rely on the official company instead of unofficial or unfamous companies. So the thing I want to say is that many people would like to trust the official companies and not like companies who have fake information. And also I have an experience that my friends and my other family members like do not trust some unofficial companies, and we're likely to see the information in the official companies.
The time has elapsed. Team A3, would you like to state your point?
Thank you for three teams for this wonderful speech, but I want to say that Team N1 has said that social media can occur some cyberbullying, but according to a journal written by the National School Boards Association and the Gun World Associate LLC, 92% of the school in USA is requiring parents and students to sign up in the internet policy. This policy is blocking the students when the students want to go in a site that is inappropriate for their age, or for another bad purposes. Moreover, 60% of the school in US are limiting the instant message app in the school, or receiving emails from other students when the school is suspicious that the students try to bully someone. How do you think about this?
Thank you, Team A3. As the rebuttal session has ended, we would like to begin the final wrap-up. Every affirmative and negative team would have the opportunity to speak for their final statement. 1 minute would be given for each team, and the affirmative would start first. The order would be preceded from Team A1 to A3 in order. Please begin.
In the question whether social media is a good effect on society, from our point of view, there is nothing more essential to humans than social media. There are 3 points here. First, variety of news reported is spread through social media. Second, social media is cost effective in many ways for the people. Last, it is a bright future. Without doubt, social media is indispensable to people, and even in negative views on it should be able to permeate into the era of social media.
Thank you. Team A2.
In a nutshell, of course, social media has bad effects. However, due to the development of fourth industry and helpful things for people, globalization has given us information to know and broaden our knowledge, which is knowing the current phenomenon. Also, relation reinforcement has given us lots of opportunities to keep in touch with the people around us. For our enhancement, we can follow the way to encounter the social media. Thank you.
Thank you, Team A2. Team A3, you may begin.
We believe that social media has a great impact to our society because it allows us to know important issues more quickly than before. And also, the social media give authority to fight against the wrong things, such as crimes occurred. When the crime occur, I think that is very, it has occurred, but however, I think that it is very important how to solve it. So I think that social media has a great impact to our society because of the reasons I mentioned above. Thank you.
The time for the affirmative wrap-up has elapsed. Now we would like to move on to the negative final wrap-up. Starting from Team 1, please begin.
Everyone, please remember that SNS are resulting in catastrophic effects on our societies. Recently, due to the spread of COVID-19, the usage rates of SNS has been increasing. And according to our references, as time goes by, there are upsurging unpleasant cases of SNS. Therefore, we are expecting that these negative influences will gradually be revealed to our communities. As time passes by, dependence on our internet network is getting higher, making SNS a significant thing, which means the majority of people are associated with social media. But as we mentioned above, and all the facts and all the evidence, those following reasons are why we think social media is severely bad for our society and has to be changed. Thank you.
Team 8, then 2.
Thank you again for the great opinions on social media and society. Our group would like to stress that social media should not be banned as there are certainly advantages of it. So currently right now, we have to admit that social media has a negative effect on the society. The affirmative have emphasized on globalization, socialization, and communication. However, there are more greater negative consequences, including the 2 points that our group said: propaganda, relative deprivation, unreliable and false information, privacy, and criminal activities. Technology will be continue to develop, so we can't stop social media and platforms to develop it. So we have to only avail the benefits from these advanced platforms. Thank you.
Although there are numerous advantages of the usage of social media, there are also some negative aspects exist. We think rapid dissemination of fake news and social media addiction and invasion of privacy can destroy our lives and lifestyle. So we think that the social media is bad for society. Thank you.
The debate time for this proposition have elapsed. Every single attendee did a great job discussing, debating, and putting effort, and overall being passionate. Thank you, teachers, judge, and staffs for spending time for SayKIS 2022. Thank you.
speech. Yes. And thank you, affirmative 3, for the definition. No one else does have the definition. So when you say something, make sure you understand it properly. Yes. So let me sum it up. First, think of your structure as a whole. Second, when you rebut someone, make sure you use the counter evidence for the rebuttal, and make sure you are persuasive. When I mean persuasive, I mean the first point that I made. If your structure is united, it's more persuasive, yes? Because you go into details, not scattered. So yeah, also for deliveries, eye contact and voice inflation delivery rate, some of you try your best to speak louder and in like clear points, yes? Sometimes one point drag on, and I noticed that there are some teams that repeat the ideas, yes? So make sure you have bullet points already made before you speak, okay? Yeah, that's it.